Divas, and welcome back to the channel. This video might possibly be my first video of 2024, so happy new year if this is your first time seeing me in the new year. I hope you had an amazing Christmas and new year celebration. We are back on the channel, and this video documents my journey of making my Christmas present for my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is someone that I cherish very dearly, even though like there is a language barrier between us. I speak English, she doesn't speak English, but you know when you just hold someone so dear in your heart, that is where I hold her. And I wanted to get her something special for Christmas. If you haven't subscribed, what we're not going to do this new year is watch and not subscribe or watch and not like, because we need the engagement. We need the engagement so YouTube knows that you guys are enjoying this video and will show it to more people on the platform. So give this video a thumbs up if you do enjoy it. Subscribe and join the Divas fam if you haven't already. And let's begin, shall we? So behind me, I have this brown wooden cupboard where I keep like my sewing supplies, fabrics, and in this second one is where I actually house like a lot of my fabrics, as you can see here. That wardrobe is bursting at the seams, but last year was the year I decided to shop less fabric and use what I had, except if I didn't have the fabric at all, before I actually go out and buy it. So let's see what I can find in here, and that would guide me in terms of like the style of the cardigan that I decide to make. Okay, here is a closer look of my fabric stash. It's a mixture of everything. I have some Ankara, some cotton, some fabrics from my ready-to-wear brand, some kola nut print, and straight up front there are two fabrics that I think could possibly work. There is that neoprene jersey combo that's actually quite warm, and it would make for a lovely cardigan. One side is gray, one side is black. I have that in black, I have it in teal as well, but I'm not sure about the color. Whereas I see this pink one. This fabric I have had for years, and I've not just found the project perfect for it. It is a very lush viscose lurex blend, and you can see it has this like silver metallic threads woven through it. So I think this would actually make like a nice piece. Let me just pull it out. This seems to be a winning option right now. Here's a closer look of the fabric. This is actually very pretty. This is so pretty. It's a knit, so it has some stretch in there, and I got this from my fabric dossier the UK. I only got 2 meters, which I'm hoping would be enough, and it's pink. If there's something I know about Maria is she likes the color pink, so I'm going to use this fabric. I'm just going to jump onto Pinterest now to find inspirations for the cardigan design now that I have my fabric sorted and out of the way. Pinterest is my go-to app when I'm looking for design ideas, and there were so many cool designs on the platform. A lot of them were knitted or crocheted, and I don't know how to do either, so I searched around for a bit. I knew I wanted something that was on the more relaxed side, since it's a present, and I wanted something that will be easy to fix if it turned out too big or too small. So I went for like an open front V neckline cardigan with a long sleeve I was leaning more towards that design, something that has like a collar, cuff, waistband, but a little bit loose and on the baggy side. I found a few different ideas and I saved them just to guide me through the process. Now I had to recruit someone to get me the measurements, so I reached out to my sister-in-law who lives with my mother-in-law and asked her if she could secretly take the measurements without my mother-in-law knowing, and she was such a good sport. She secured the measurements for me. So shout out to her for making this project possible, because without those measurements, I don't know how I'll be creating these sewing patterns. So I like to create sewing patterns when I'm working on a project that I haven't done before, and this time I'm going to be going in to mark the desired cardigan length, and then I'm going to square that across on the bottom, so that gives me the hemline, and the top edge is the shoulder line. I'm doing this on paper, and then I'm going to the top edge, which is the shoulder line. I'm going to be marking half of the across shoulder measurement that I got from my sister-in-law, and then I'm marking the vertical distance from the shoulder to the bust. This is going to guide me to create the arm opening. I'm going to go in here to square that across, which essentially just means drawing a horizontal line that cuts through that point. Along that bust line, I'm going to go in to mark a quarter of the bust measurement minus 1 inch, which is a negative ease because the fabric has quite a bit of stretch. So once I have that marked across like so, I'm going to be connecting the shoulder to the bust line with this side of my pattern master, and then I'm going to drop that shoulder edge by half an inch or roughly 1 centimeter, so I have a slanted shoulder seam. The shoulder slope itself is about 5 inch or 13 centimeters. If you have a narrower shoulder, you can make this even more tapered in towards your body. So I'm going to go in here to draw the shoulder slant, and the neckline that I am going for is a V neckline, so it's like an open cardigan design, and it ends roughly 4 inches or 10 centimeters below the bust line. So it's straight from the shoulder to about the bust area, and then it curves into the center front edge. Now the side seam is essentially just a straight line that goes from the bust line all the way to the hem, because I want the cardigan to be more on the relaxed fit side. On the same plan, I'm marking 1.75 inches or 4 centimeters below the shoulder line. That is going to become my back neck line, and the back arm curve is just slightly shallower compared to the front. My plan is to actually use the same plan or the same pattern piece to cut the front and back, so that way I'm not using a lot of paper. I'm just going to add an additional notch so I can differentiate the front from the back. So I'll most likely use the same plan to cut the back first, and then readjust it to cut the front of the cardigan. I'm just going in here to add the annotations as well as the grain line for my cardigan plan before going in to create the sleeve. Now I have a folded piece of paper here, and I'm marking half of the around bicep measurement from the folded edge inwards, and once I have that marked as a dot, I'm going to grab my plan and just trace off the bottom edge of the arm curve. I'm starting with the back side, transferring the notches as well. Once I have that traced open, I am going to open up the pattern paper and then repeat the same thing on the other side, but this time tracing off the front arm curve. This way I have something to guide me to create a sleeve pattern piece. Once I have that traced off, I transfer the notch for the front arm curve as well, and then I'm going to open up the paper and join those dashed lines together and draw in the sleeve head. This is like a quick way that I do sleeve patterns, and it works sometimes. This moment it works, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. To ensure that the sleeve head fits into the arm curve, I'm just measuring from the notch points to the top of the sleeve before drawing in that sleeve head. So I compare the measurements from the body pattern to the sleeve head here, and I just move my pattern master around until it's at a point I am happy with. You want the sleeve to be a little bit bigger. I would say to have some ease in there that you would join or stretch into or ease into the arm curve of your garment. Because your fabric is stretchy, in this case of like a knitted fabric, you kind of have a little bit of leeway there. On the side seam, I'm just adding additional measurements of roughly 1.5 centimeters or 1 inch. That way I have enough of my sleeve head to fit into the armhole of my cardigan. Next up, I'm marking my sleeve length, and this is on the shorter side because she's a little bit petite, so I want the sleeve to fit her comfortably. I'm drawing in the hemline like so, and I have made a cuff pattern piece, which is essentially just measuring around her wrist, and the cuff is going to be a little bit smaller than the hemline width because I want a gathered in situation. So the hem of the sleeve is a little bit wider than the cuff that I plan to like gather into the cuff of the cardigan. I'm just going in here to add annotations as well as a green line and cut out the pattern piece. Now the pattern pieces in this project I did not add any seam allowance to because my plan is to go in and add the seam allowance on the fabric as I am cutting. Off camera I made the collar pattern piece. The length of the collar pattern piece is essentially the length of the front neckline plus the back neckline, and then you add whatever seam allowance you desire, and the width is 6 inches, which is the same width as the cuff on the sleeve. The last piece is the waistband, which is the same width as the collar and the cuff, and the length is essentially the dimension of the hemline. So whatever width the hemline on the front and the back is, that's the width of the waistband. So it essentially sits around the entire hemline of the cardigan. Now that I have my patterns done, I'm going to go ahead and cut as well as stitch everything together. I went in to pin everything in place and I'm just cutting, adding a 1 centimeter seam allowance. And as I mentioned earlier on, I went in to cut the waistband pieces. For the front I cut 2 pieces and for the back I cut 1 piece. So once everything is joined along the side seam, I have a full waistband piece that sits along the hemline of the cardigan. I have all of my pieces cut. I'm going to go ahead and sew it together. Starting off with the shoulder seam, I have put right sides together and I'm gone ahead to stitch the shoulder of the front to the back. Once that is all done, I'm going to grab the sleeve and putting the right side of the sleeve against the right side of the joined front and back, I'm just going to sew the sleeve into the arm opening. My plan is to join the sleeve on both sides, and once I have the sleeve tacked or stitched in place, I know I can connect the side seam with one continuous stitch from the sleeve edge all the way to the side seam. This way I have one side seam and it's kind of easy to make adjustments if I want to, because I can go back to this particular seam and remove any excess if there is some. This I am stitching with my overlocker because it's stretchy fabric, so you want to use a stitch that allows for stretch and it won't break along the seams. Once I was done doing that, it's time to go in and attach the waistband. The waistband I'm going to be joining along the side seam first, so I have one full waistband piece to connect to the entire hemline of the cardigan. I'm going to fold it against itself, folding the waistband with wrong sides tucked away, and then I'm going to join them with raw edges facing each other. So I have the folded edge on the very bottom of the cardigan. This I'm going to be sewing on my overlocker, connecting them together so I have a nicely finished hemline of my cardigan. The second to last step is finishing and joining the collar. I have finished the collar edges like so. I essentially just stitched it with wrong sides tucked away inside, and then I'm going to be joining the collar along the neckline of the cardigan. This way I finished the neckline in one continuous stitch, joining the collar piece to the front and the back neckline using my overlocker. Once I was done doing that, I gave my piece a press, and this is what it is looking like so far. It's coming together really nicely. I'm actually glad I went with this pink knits. Oh, it just looks so cute. The final step in terms of assembly is joining the sleeve cuff. This I have stitched first on the side seam, and then I folded it against itself with wrong sides tucked away, and I'm going to be joining the hemline of the sleeve to the cuff edges. And because the sleeve hem was a little bit bigger than the cuff, I just stretched them both so you have that little bit of gathering happening there. Now that I'm done with the cardigan, I'm just going to go in to sew the label. I just thought this was like a cute little touch. I'm just hand tacking the label to the neckline on the back to finish everything up. After attaching the label and pressing the cardigan, I packed it up nicely, wrapped it with some tissue in a gift bag, and I kept it up until Christmas morning when she would open it, and hopefully she likes the gift.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Guys enjoyed watching this video. It was absolutely so much fun to create. I'm glad, even though the cardigan was a little bit big on her, I was able to go in and fix it. She's someone who likes to sew like me, so she had a sewing machine and an overlocker at home, so I was like, yes. We did a fitting. I measured how much we needed to take away from the side seam, so I reduced the sleeve and the body by about 5 centimeters or roughly 2 inches, and then it fit her to a point that she was happy with. I think it's one of those projects that will always have a close and dear place in my heart. Even though it's not a very complicated style, it's just really special when you take your time out and create something specially for someone. If you did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up. I'm excited to create content in the new year, so please leave your suggestions down below so I know this is something that you guys actually enjoy in terms of like the project that I work on in the future. Until next time, have a good morning, afternoon, and evening wherever you are, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.